Hello there, and a very warm welcome to another edition of the program. I am Victor Matthias. When negotiators from almost 200 countries arrived in Marrakech for the latest annual climate change conference, COP22, it was being touted as an opportunity to showcase progress and start the important process of turning the UN's Paris Agreement into a detailed blueprint for action. Today on the program, our focus will be on Nigeria's participation and what it stands to benefit from the outcome of the conference. But before we begin, let's make a detour and flip through trending topics in the past week. A Nigerian was mobbed in the Orile area of Lagos State for allegedly stealing garri, a staple food also known as cassava flakes made from cassava tubes and popular in West African countries. Nigerians were outraged by the event and they showed this via their social media handles. With the death of several soldiers at the front of keeping the territorial integrity of the nation intact, Nigerians took to their Twitter accounts and some other social media platforms to show gratitude to fallen heroes who paid the ultimate price to ensure Nigeria's safety. And on a lighter note, Real Madrid star Cristiano Ronaldo set a new hat-trick scoring record in the history of the Spanish league during a league clash with city rivals Atletico Madrid. Well, congratulations to the Portuguese star, and who knows, he could as well be on the way to winning the Ballon d'Or. But back to our focus of the day, let's join our contributors who join us via a Google Plus Hangout. Let's begin with you, Esther. What was the COP22 in Marrakech all about?
Well, so the COP22 is a 22 meeting of Conference of Parties to the UNFCCC. Also, the 12th session of the Conference of Parties, serving as a meeting of the parties to the Kyoto Protocol. It's called CM2. It started on the 7th of November and ended on the 18th of November. The Marrakech COP marked a turning point as the landmark Paris climate change entered into force on the 4th of November before the official date, having achieved threshold of entry into force on the 5th of October 2016. So it is basically a conference that looked at the implementation for the Paris Agreement. So it was called the COP of Action. Signed the Paris Agreement, as you know, at the 17th Nation General Assembly in New York. And efforts here are currently being made to ensure that we transmit our instrument of ratification to the high-level segment. So COP22 was basically looking at how do we enhance ambition, how do we promote implementation and provide support to parties that have signed the agreement. So all of the technical deliberation, we're looking at operationalization of the Paris Agreement adopted last year. So how does that work? How do we implement the Paris Agreement? So that's basically what the conference is all about.
So you made mention of the Paris Agreement. What exactly is in that document?
The Paris Agreement was basically an international framework that looked at reduction of emission by 2020 based on different countries' identified contribution, which is called INDC, which Nigeria submitted as well in the Paris Agreement. So, so we're looking at now that you've signed the Paris Agreement to reduce the emissions. How does it going to work? How does it implement? Where are the resources going to come from? How do we support each other to make it work? Technology transfer and the rest of them. So basically the agreement accepts to hold increase in global average temperature to well below 20 degrees Celsius, above pre-industrial levels, and to pursue this effort to limit increase to 1.5. So basically, you're looking, the Paris Agreement to reduce greenhouse emissions below 20 degrees, while the long run, it will increase at 1.5 degrees. So this was a significant reduction and to reduce the impact of climate change around the world. So the key things like that. So that's all the Paris Agreement is all about. It's available online, people can see. And we, as Nigeria, have adopted that and we signed it because we also gave our instrument of reduction called INDC, which is our own internally determined contribution as part of the agreement.
Well, talking about coming together of leaders to sign that document, the President-elect of the United States seems unconvinced that climate change, which is one, if not the major reason by the Paris Agreement, is real. How committed are signatories to this agreement to ensuring it is implemented?
Well, this has been into the COP agreement has been into force already. It's into force. So it's quite sad that the leader of the free world elected does not think climate change is real. I believe this is also an opportunity to extend an invitation to President-elect Donald Trump to come to Nigeria, and probably let's take him to the Lake Chad region so that he can firsthand see the dilapidated or see the first-hand impact of the effects of climate change. But by and large, it's quite an exciting and ambitious process. And of course, Nigeria, for the very first time, took that one where we held. I was not in Marrakech, but I followed the process all through online. Getting updates on social media and also watching the UN live cast. It was quite amazing. You can see that world leaders for the very first time are uniting. Our government is also taking the lead, and by and large, we're taking Nigeria and Africa to the promised land, where we would see more climate action, where we would see more mitigation and adaptation strategy that is driven by technology and innovation, and having young people take the leading force.
What will be Nigeria's takeaway benefit, if you like, from the summit?
Oh, so one thing that should be our takeaway, and of course, coming back to the country, it's important to also note that developers firm their $100 billion US mobilization goal. This will definitely seeks to empower developing and underdeveloped countries like Nigeria and other underdeveloped countries. I think one thing to mention is to strengthen the National Agency for Great Green World. We know that this is an agency that seeks to 200 communities and directly empower over 40 million lives across the Sahara Desert, which is the 11 frontline states in northern Nigeria. This opportunity to enhance and strengthen a strong institutional framework.
Talking about a robust Minister Esther, let me come back to you again. So what was Nigeria's focus going into the summit?
If you've our INDC, all our work we're doing in the climate action is domiciled in INDC, and to require an enormous amount of money. So one of the key things we focused on as a country at the COP22 was look at demonstrate our commitment as a country to the Paris Agreement and to taking climate action, and also to gather international support for implementation of INDC. On that part, one of the key focus of what we did was climate finance. We're very interested in climate finance. So on climate finance, actually, we understand that we have to look inward as a country to raise the fund, and also, of course, with support from the global community. So one of our key focus was climate finance. In our country, we're looking at green bonds, which is sovereign green bonds, which hopefully next year, first quarter of next year, from that green bonds, we'll be able to finance some of the pipeline of project under the INDC. So it's for us, it's very, very important because funding for implementation is crucial. As a key part of it. So we had a side event on getting private sector support in climate action to green bonds, and we'll be working with the Nigerian Stock Exchange and other private sector to be able to do, and of course Ministry of Finance and budget office to look at how we could issue green bonds. Green bonds is a key avenue of raising funds for INDC beyond other ones. And hopefully to look at how we can make our own 2017 budget more greener, so that projects that are being implemented and take environmental issues into considerations. So that's key way of doing that, because we have to be innovative in finding resources. Funding is very, very, very key. In looking at the context of the dwindling national resources, we need to be innovative in getting funding to do that, because climate action, it's top of the priority of the federal government, or priority of some state government, like we saw in Akwa Ibom State and Cross River State. So these are things that we need to do on that one. So our key outcome was that we brought stakeholders together in the global climate finance world to talk about possibilities in issuing of green bonds the first quarter of next year, and that we can find that project. And if you do that, Nigeria will become a leader in its climate action in the continent and of course globally as well.
So why didn't Nigeria sign the Marrakech Declaration for the Sustainable Development of the Oil Palm Sector in Africa, which some West African countries like Ghana, Liberia and Cote d'Ivoire signed?
That well, Nigeria didn't sign the agreement because Nigeria wasn't given enough time to consult internally as a country, and also the information came too late for us to do. And we were approached by the organizers for the minister to participate in a side event, and later on it was changed to signing an agreement, and later on it was changed to another thing. We advised them to contact the office of the Minister of Agriculture. We communicated that to them by email. We didn't hear from them, and as for the country, we are no longer doing anyhow in the country anymore in terms of international agreement. Due process must be followed, and key sectors must be consulted. They did not give Nigeria enough time to do that. And Nigeria is a country with its own sovereign rights, so we need to do things. So this is the kind of change we are showing the world that we're doing. We will not be pushed to do things that we're not sure of, or we're not do that. So Nigeria didn't sign an agreement. Hopefully the conversation is continuing. My colleague Mudi Ahmed, who is talking to them, is still consulting with them, and hopefully we can have the right thing in the right place and the right process is carried.
Well, I think that moving forward, it's important to always have effective and engaging consultation with key stakeholders. And I bet you me, if Madam Minister had gone ahead to sign that, we will be the first to ask her who sent her. But governance has to do with engaging civil society and active citizens in the environmental sector, knowing that this is the most important sector of the land. Maybe I'm being biased, but to us, this is a much more important sector.
If we had signed that agreement without consultation, we have been at fault. And we did ask them to contact the office of the Minister of Agriculture, who was also at Paris Agreement, but they did not get back to us if they reached out to the office. In fact, so a whole lot of things they need to do. They need to understand that we're no longer doing things anyhow anymore in this country. Due process need to pass. So it's a whole interesting stuff now. So we are open to them, to more consultations. Nigeria is a very important part of the international community, so we look forward to doing things that are right at the right time, because this is change that we all wanted.
So what will now be the disadvantage, since Nigeria is a big producer and it has also contributed a lot to the GDP, especially through foreign exchange?
So for me, I don't think that it will be their loss if Nigeria is not part of it. Not our loss, for instance. It has to be their loss because Nigeria is a very important partner to the continent and the world at large. So I believe they would put their act together and galvanize all the line ministries that are meant to be engaged, but most importantly, active citizens and civil society. But again, I know our government is open and willing to work with international development partners, and we hope that these people get it right and follow due course. Nigeria is a sovereign country, so you have to respect that and engage them the way they choose. We have to set the terms. In the past, this community said, now Nigeria has gotten her act right, and we're setting the terms, and you have to follow that terms as a sovereign country.
All right, just hold your thoughts for a second. We'll take a quick break and I'll be back shortly.